So what are these numbers telling us? The relationship between the two, we know, is that when people are buying new cars, they are less interested in used cars.
Yeah. So essentially, the rate of change of inflation for used cars hasn't changed dramatically. I mean, it went up a little bit from 2.3 to 2.4, where for used vehicles it went down from 3.6 to 2.9%.
Over what period is that?
That's in the past. That's year on year, but this is we bring this out every quarter. So essentially, what we're seeing is, because of the fantastic deals that are available in the new vehicle market, people are moving increasingly towards new vehicles relative to used vehicles.
I think in the new car market for 3 years or so, there was no price inflation at all, or very little. Yeah. So it became highly competitive and friendly to purchasers.
Absolutely. As the relative rand strength that we've had over the past 3 years, other than just what's happened in the sort of last 2 or 3 months, basically new vehicle prices have been, in real terms, getting cheaper and cheaper over the past 3 years.
What about the relationship between imported cars and locally manufactured cars? We heard earlier there about the Purchasing Managers Index. Presumably cars are part of that. Yep. But there was a time when an imported car was something that was very exotic and you couldn't afford it, and it really wasn't a factor, but that's changed.
Yeah. So of all the vehicles sold in South Africa, 75% of them are actually imported vehicles. So notwithstanding that the fact that they may be reported through the NAAMSA stats as a VW or as a BMW or a Mercedes, which manufacture vehicles in this country, a number of their models are actually imported, and about 75% of all new vehicles are imported vehicles in the South African market.
Just tell us how you do your numbers, because it's comparing apples with apples. It's the same system, but how do you get your data, and what is the data?
So basically, the vehicle price index data is made up of information that we collect from about 2,000 dealers on a monthly basis. We get what we call dealer returns, so they supply to us information about how many new and used vehicles they supply or that they sell in the market. Specifically, the used vehicle information, about 2,000 dealers, about 40,000 records on a monthly basis get supplied to us, and this is a market-weighted index so that we make sure that the information is there. If they're selling more VWs and Toyotas in the market than they are, for example, Jaguars, then our index is related to that so that it's market weighted.
It amazes me that anyone buys a new car when you think of what very good deals you can get on the used market. So in terms of your previous experience of what these stats tell us, what should we be thinking about consumers? Because these are the kinds of indicators that tell us about where the consumer is, and certainly earlier the new car sales results indicated that there were more people who had money to spend on new cars.
Absolutely. The thing is that new car sales have been doing relatively well. They've been doing very well as a result of a number of factors, including the fact that interest rates are at an all-time low. The banks seem to have an increased appetite for taking on some additional value into their books. But in terms of why are people deciding new versus used, I mean, it's a relative decision based on what you can get for your rand. And generally, when people are feeling a little bit wealthier or a little bit better off, they tend to go for new vehicles. When things are a little bit tougher, then they tend to go for used vehicles.
Do your numbers talk about buying up and buying down? So you sell a big car, you might be worried about the petrol price, although recently it's come down. And you say, well, I'm going to sell my second-hand big car, and in fact I can buy a nice new car with a good deal for what I get.
Yeah, we have seen that over the past 2 to 3 years. Not so much in the last sort of 6 to 12 months when things have been increasing, but the 2 years prior to that, when we were right in the midst of the kind of economic crunch, we definitely did see a buying down trend occurring in both new and used. Specifically in the new vehicle market, in that entry-level market, it's a very, very competitive and highly contested market.
I was going to say it is a very competitive sector, and if you look at the number of models available, I remember reading somewhere that we probably have more models available for purchases in South Africa than just about any other country, and it's a luxury that we have that choice. But the market does seem to work, and your numbers appear to say that slight shifts in the economy, the market adjusts.
Yes, definitely. There's no doubt about that. Coming back to your point about how many, the unbelievable selection that we as South Africans have, there are over 2,000 different make, model and derivatives available for in the new vehicle segment. largely, though, in that sort of 100 to 150,000, there's not a great variety of choice in that space, and in that segment, sort of 100 to 200,000, is where the vast majority, by volume of vehicles, new vehicles are sold.
Based on your experience, the used cars lag the new car prices. So what's going to happen next? What's going to happen in the next year, given where these numbers are now?
I think it depends very strongly on what happens to the rand. I think if the rand continues to strengthen again, then we will see that the manufacturers manage to maintain new vehicle prices at their current levels, which will see an increase in the rate of an increase in the rate of decrease, so a decreasing of vehicle price inflation further. However, if the rand continues to weaken, then the manufacturers will be required to increase prices.
Well, certainly it looks encouraging where it's gone recently down to 8.14. Thanks, Mike. That was Mike van Höne, who is CEO of TransUnion Auto Information Solutions.